No, that might be useful. I don't know. It's so hard to tell conferences based on your name. So
Yeah, it is.
This one's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, grab a drink. Do you want anything?
I'll have a diet. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Hi. Hello. Hi. Hello. Hello. Exactly. If I have the energy to stand up here, you have the energy to speak back. Thank you so much. My name is Kim Creighton, and I will be talking about never underestimate the underdog. I'm recording there, so I'm trying to figure out where I land in this space because I do not stand behind the podium. So, and the fact that I have to do this because I don't have I'm good though. All right, everybody's good? I don't care. I prefer you to be on Twitter. So there you go. Trigger warning. White people, you're going to be upset. You're going to be all right. But you're going to get your feelings hurt. For the simple fact, one of the reasons is in a city that's 83% African American, I call them black. 1, 2. There are 2, not including me, black people in this room. That's a serious problem. That's a serious problem we have with tech. And the fact that I know there are other tracks, but this room should be filled. These are important issues. And usually how Scotland JS did it, I was a surprise keynote. I wasn't even on the program. So by the time they introduced me, you couldn't go no damn where. You were stuck. So I want to talk about, this is the Motor City, right? This was where Henry Ford perfected, he did not invent the automobile, he perfected an assembly line process that allowed innovation. You know, his whole thing was, can I get a car in every driveway? Even when there weren't even driveways at the time. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of my history, my history with Detroit. Okay, so I'm working through this. All right, so I have family here. I've had family here my whole life, and I'm going to tell you, I've hated Detroit. I am a girl from the South. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Detroit always seemed like a giant project to me. Even in the 70s. It was a place that I even knew that black people shouldn't be. Well, definitely you white people knew because you moved to the suburbs. That's why we're not ask people now where they say, oh, I'm from Detroit. If they're white, I'm like, okay, now where are you really from? Because you're not from the city. You're from a suburb of Detroit. Very few fit, well, now that you're gentrifying the city, everybody's coming back because it's cool. But yeah, I just really hated Detroit. I hated the potholes that were big as cars. I hated I hated the fact that my family lived in places that I thought, and I'm going to be honest, I thought I was better than them. And on my journey, I hated Detroit. And on my journey, I learned about privilege, whiteness, and racism. I recognized that this system created an internal conflict with myself that I hated myself and my family. Well, I didn't hate my family. Instead of just being no, I'm not being hyperbolic. Okay. Do you understand where I'm coming from? This is a conflict here. Because these are people I love and care for. But because of the system that whiteness put in place and taught me that I was better than, I looked down on my family. Man, I don't know the code of conduct enough to know if I could curse, but I won't. Woo! Okay, because I've been doing my conferences, and you can say whatever you want to at my conferences. All right, so I'm an educator by trade. So we're going to define some terms here, all right? Because I don't like people to start in the middle of my talk, be in the middle of like, I don't get, no, we're going to start at the beginning. All right, privilege. Simple. White people get all stressed out about privilege. Privilege is simply who has access. So if you go to South America, white people won't have access. It is usually light-skinned South Americans who have access. Okay, because the color thing is all over the world. So So it's simply about access. And so I put this picture up here. Who's seen these monkeys before in Japan? And everybody's like, oh, that's so cute. That's just so, they're just in the hot tub. Well, yeah, some of them are in the hot tub. What this is a matriarchal family, and only this family gets to stay in the hot tub. All these monkeys on the outside are freezing their butts off, and I'm praying. If this is probably a male. Praying he can get somebody's attention. They'll stand on the outside and protect so that other monkeys can't get in. So they're trying to get favor so they can get in the hot springs. If they don't get in there, they're praying that, well, they're not praying but they're trying to do everything they can not to freeze. So does that not change the perspective of that picture for you? Because that is how black people live in the world. You have this idea of everybody's equal, everybody's having the same experience. No, hell, we ain't. We outside trying to get in. And this is where I'm changing. Because I'm no longer trying to get in. This is why so many white people are upset with black women. We're no longer trying to get in. We're finding our own pools and taking care of ourselves. Underrepresented is simply about numbers. You got one white chick and all these men. His head was already cut off, so I didn't do that on purpose. That was already in the picture. But that's underrepresented is simply about numbers. When you have 3 people over here and you have 50 people over here, the 3 are underrepresented in the group. All right? That's simple. Marginalized, on the other hand, is about treatment or mistreatment, and it's about a group of people. So although white women, I'm looking at this doggone group, although white women are underrepresented in tech, you are the only ones who are making progress in tech, are making gains. So many of you, unless you have a disability or from a marginalized, unless you're in a margin, you're not, unless you're from a disenfranchised group, you're not also marginalized. White women benefit from privilege, so you're not marginalized. This is why you're making gains. But the reason why you're making gains and your situations aren't changing is because you're not bringing other women with you. So you get these jobs, but you're still getting sexually harassed, you're still getting paid less, nothing's changed. But these white guys get to check off a box. Oop, got diversity. No, you don't, because diversity is about variety. And I use this as an example. Everybody here has had some kind of Crayola or some fake facsimile of it. And I don't like the wax ones. You can always tell when you don't have Crayola crayons. They don't color. It's like this is what they're supposed to do, but they don't do it. All right, so you have to be, the average person has to, well, you're not even average. You have to be a real artist to take a box of 4 Crayolas and still create a masterpiece as somebody with a 64 box Crayola. If you give me a box of 4, I am limited out this world. I don't have that perspective to think about how I can really be creative with these 4 colors. But if you give me 64, man, I can just do all kinds of stuff. It may be ugly, but I got some colors on here. So diversity is all just variety. That's it. Different people have different perspectives. I do not know what it's like to be a white person, male, female, child. You don't know what it's like to be a black woman growing up in Georgia. So you cannot create products and services for black people without our perspective. This is why you're failing. You're leaving money on the table. All you white guys who have these companies and someone would come to you and say, oh, I want to sell haircut products for black women. Oh, that's not. Do you know how much black women spend on their hair? You realize how much money you are leaving on the table? Just because you don't have the perspective and it's not important to you? But inclusion is my holy grail. It's about experience. I need to experience inclusion. And you can't tell me if your environment is inclusive. I tell you that. And this is where we're having a problem. White people, you don't get to tell me if I feel safe in an environment. I tell you that. And it can change on a dime because I've had situations where it's like, damn, you had to open your mouth. I thought we were, you did it. And it negates everything you've done. I'm just going to be honest with you. It is not like you say one racist or stupid thing and that just ticks off 10 things. No, that for me, that ticks off everything. So now I'm looking at you suspect every time you open your mouth. Inclusion is not about equality. There is no way I can be equal to a white man unless he goes, stops, takes a nap for like 20 years, and when he gets back up, he's crawling. That's the only way in this system can I get ahead of him or even be equal to him. So if you're not prioritizing marginalized needs, you're not being inclusive. It's not about quotas. It's not about I have one Hispanic who's a lesbian who was on autism spectrum and who has one left leg missing. You're not trying to check off all boxes with one person. This is about experience. So I'm showing you different things about showing innovation in this city. Detroit put black music on the map. What does racism look like in the North? Because this is an issue I have. People think, was in the paper recently. A judge, some students decided in Detroit that I know my little cousin, when he comes to the country with us when he's on vacation, he has these homework assignments and half the pages in his textbooks are missing. How can you do work with that? But this judge said that school is not access to literacy. So why am I in school? That's a basic need. What if someone told your white students, your white children, that you didn't have a basic need to literacy? But yet you have to be there at 16. For what? Now you're housing me like I'm a prisoner. Detroit, as I said, is 98% black. Look at the population of white and look at the loans. We all know that home ownership is based on, your school is based on home ownership in communities that pay taxes, but they're not even getting homes. But everybody wants to say, oh, why are you being so racial? Why are you being so sensitive? Why are you talking about this? Because it's every freaking where. When I started looking at this, it is everything. When I talk about tech and tech businesses, we will not fix any of this until we deal with privilege, whiteness, and racism. But I'm optimistic because tech touches everything. We are driving everything. And once we get it right, medicine's going to have to change. Law is going to have to change. Everything is going to have to change because they're looking to us. This is if you have not listened to Seen on Radio's Seen Whiteness series, you need to listen to it now. It gives you a historical perspective because I'm going to tell you, white people, you are ignorant about your own history. I've never seen a group of people so doggone ignorant in my life, and I'm an educator. And you want to argue with us about our experiences. So I'm just going to let you see what some of these things are, because everybody wants to think the South is so much worse than the North. Woo! At least I know who's a KKK member in the South. You guys are hiding it all over the place. It's this hidden thing that made me dislike being in Detroit growing up. Even though I would have fun with my family, the environment was dangerous. Because of these things and I don't want anybody else to ever say, I don't see color. If you don't see color, you don't see me. And that's an assumption that we're having the same experiences and we're not. Let's define racism. People on Twitter always want to pull up, and I'm going to step down so you can see this. I always want to pull up the dictionary definition. The dictionary definition talks about the cause. It doesn't talk about the effect. Racism is race prejudice plus a system of power. Black people in the United States cannot be racist. There is no such thing as reverse racism. We can hate you, but that doesn't make us racist. You can hate your brother, that doesn't make you racist. And so this is an episode of, again, talking about the North and the South. Because when I was in Scotland a few weeks ago, I did my conference, and it's so interesting that white people think that this only happens in the United States. So we're good over here. Well, they had a war over there about all this not too long ago. And this is where I want you to where there's whiteness, there's racism. And I'm going to say this, and this is where people get, if you're white, you're racist. Now, whether you act on that is something else. But you are part of a system that is racially prejudiced towards particularly blacks, Native Americans, Hispanics, or Latinx, anything that's not white, that you've defined, because you made up the term. Italians weren't white until the Irish got here. Everybody, whiteness shifts, but yet you want to act like it's a steady thing. This what am I trying to say? No, I'm trying to say doesn't move, structured or whatever. But that works. Static. That's what. Thank you. You act like it doesn't change. Oh, it shifts whenever, and this is where the power card comes from, because it shifts whenever it fits your needs. I don't have the damn power to do that. This is the question: how attached are you to the idea of being white? And this is where so many white people they cringe, because they're so attached to it, either consciously or unconsciously, that when they start thinking about what it would take to change this system, you're going to lose something. But it's beneficial for all of us, because if I'm in this space and I feel safe, then because I'm marginalized, you feel safe by default. Some ways to determine if something is racist. This is from, so you want to talk about race, you need to read that book. If a person of color says it's about race, don't argue it's about race. Because as I said, everything in the everything with a white dominant culture is about race. If it's about race if it disproportionately affects us. So this next one is this is if it disproportionately affects a group of people. So like that whole why am I going to school if I'm not supposed to be literate? A system of the redlining, the fact that the majority of the home loans go to white people. Think about all these things that you've never had to experience. See, this is where is privilege for the first time. Privilege is like a parasite. And for the first time, it's eating its host, which is white people. The president opened your eyes to some things that black people have been telling you for years. It's the first time you have to see it, because everybody's been shielding you from it. Everybody's been making you comfortable, because it's been in our best interest to make you comfortable. But we don't care anymore. We're getting attacked right, left, and center. So we getting attacked doing well, doing what you tell us is the thing to do, and it's still, then why not do what we want to do? This is also why I don't want to hear any conversations about civility. Civility is a construct that is an option for white people, but it's expected behavior for black people, because it's how you've taught us to manage our own behavior so you don't have to. That's why we stand in line. That's why we say please and thank you. That's why we do all those things that make you comfortable so that you don't have to deal with us. So I'm telling you, this is how I walk in the world now. If you were walking down the street, down the sidewalk, and you're paying attention, not paying attention, doesn't matter. But if I'm walking straight and we're going to make body contact. In the past, I would step aside or I just stop. I don't anymore. I brace myself because I'm going dead in for your shoulder and I'm hoping to knock you on your ass. That's my goal. When we're sitting on the plane, I'm sitting like this. Your penis is not that big. Close your legs. And this armrest, you want the front or the back of that. Because if you notice, when people in marginalized communities, they get on planes, they make themselves small. We're apologizing. I'm no longer apologizing. I deserve to be in this space, and I don't need your permission. Oh, this is great. Did you know that the first black superheroes have their origin stories from Detroit? Oh my God. So let's define some more terms. Here's one shirt that I have. Please don't call us aggressive. And I want to talk about white women's tears here. In a way, I don't blame you because this is how you've been conditioned. But in 2018, I blame you because it really, people have been calling it out. It's not like it's under the cover anymore. When you have a disagreement in the workplace, white women, and you start crying, if I have not hit you, you better not be crying. You better be having cramps or something. Something better be going on instead of your feelings hurt. Because what you do is you end up going to HR and telling them how I was aggressive, intimidating, defensive, emotional, angry. Oh, you know, the trope of the angry black woman. Overreactive. And that goes in my personnel file. Because you as a grown woman couldn't manage your own emotions. Now I am going to be penalized economically for this? Oh no. If that's what's going down, I'm just going to pop you in your eye. If I'm going to deal with the consequences, we're going to blows. What's the biggest threat to inclusion and diversity in tech and my personal well-being? Is it this? I love fat. Yeah. This, we always have to cite examples. My lived experience is not enough for white people. I have to cite, I have to come with bibliographies and reference sections and everything. But look at this mess here. They hire the best talent regardless of race, of color. Hell, women know that ain't true. This is what we got before the president. That's why I'm going to tell you, I appreciate him being in office. Because it was always, why y'all being so sensitive? We had a black president for 2 terms, and we dealt with discrimination and race in the 60s. What he did was pull the covers off every little roach that's been under the covers, and you have to deal with it. Or is it this? Is it some person of Jewish descent telling me that, as if I have no choice, that they're my ally, and that I'm wrong for saying that they're white? This is my response. I want to take some time and think about. I had to take some time and think about the above statement, and it's just getting, it's not getting around. I find it offensive. I've heard this argument before from Jews, and it's dismissive. Please stop trying to compare pain and tragedies. You cannot compare the Holocaust to slavery. Please don't do that. Holocaust, both slavery and Holocaust were unacceptable. Period. What does not help or is equal is using that loss to draw conclusions about my experience as a person of color. Particularly those who are descendants of slaves in the U.S. Whether you like to admit it or not, you get to choose if someone knows you're Jewish. Because to me, you're just white. And that's how you live in this world until somebody finds out you're Jewish. So your ability to choose, which I don't have, makes our experiences unequal. And I would advise you in the future to refrain from sharing this information, because what this person is doing is continually making this their case on Twitter for why black women are slamming her. Oh, my family died in the Holocaust. Yep, slaves did too. And before you say something, I don't hate white people and I'm not anti-Semitic. This is all about race. So don't try to twist my words. Don't do any, because I am one of those black women who will fight back. It's white liberalism. It's white people. I know what a Ku Klux Klan member, because they're going to tell me they don't like me. alt-right, they don't tell me they don't like me. It's the white folks who think they're doing a great job and get offended when I tell, again, inclusion is about my experience. So when I tell you what you're doing is harmful, what I don't need you to do that thing, and then you clap back at me as if I've said something to you, I have a problem. Who's been watching on Twitter the Amy, what's her name, Sis? Yes. Who's been watching that? That's a hot, holy mess. And this is a white woman who has an organization for women. But what her behavior has shown us, and this is where, again, this is, I'm going to take a side note because, I'm looking forward to the fact that I don't care what you think about Omarosa, a black woman's going to bring down this president. Because what you do is continue to underestimate black women. You always do it. We're no longer your mammies and you can get off our teats. You continue to underestimate us because we've lived in your system, you've never lived in ours. And we've survived and succeeded in your system, so we know we always need documentation. In every situation. If you walk around in your office and there's a black woman, I bet you she got a notepad and write down everything you're saying. So the fact that she knew that writing was going to be enough and she was able to take, I don't care what you say about her, but what I can tell you is they underestimate, it always happens, you underestimate a black woman and you bite your ass. It's always these woke white people who, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. I just need y'all to sit down. I really do. You cause unimaginable emotional labor. Do you know how much emotional labor? Last night I saw something before, because I knew I had not written this presentation. I don't write my presentation until like 3 o'clock in the morning. So I knew I had to go to bed, but I saw this one tweet. And I was like, do I want to wade in right now, because I need to go to sleep? Or do I let this just slide? No, I can't let this slide. So I figured out my way to do it. I screenshot it. Because he's not the person who's my audience. My audience are white people who follow me, who want to learn how to do better. So I need to let them see. That's why I don't block people. You need to see what we go through every single day. I'm tired of you being comfortable while I'm sitting up here trying to figure out how I'm going to eat, how I'm going to pay my bills. Or am I going to get home that day because some a-hole decided that my blackness was not supposed to be in that space, challenges me. Who saw the woman throw the hot coffee in the Latinx face, the young man's face? He did not press charges. There could be a number of reasons he didn't press charges, but there could be some of, if somebody's might ask him about his legal right to be in the country. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons you guys get away with a lot of stuff. But the fact that you threw hot coffee in a person's face and you don't get it, what? That's criminal. He shouldn't have to press charges. That's assault. And another thing that happens in tech that bothers me is you have these people with 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers or more. You're an expert in tech. Stay in your damn lane. Do not start talking about social justice issues. You are not an expert in that. Because what happens is you have your 400,000 followers who follow you about tech. And because you said whatever you said, when I challenge it, because I'm an expert, but I'm a black person, so I couldn't have been an expert in this. They believe you instead of me. So now I'm defending myself. So if you have friends who have these large followings and want to start dipping their toe into, because that's all you're doing is dipping. You don't have to, so these people who have these followers don't go back to they'll say, hey, I made a mistake here. Kim's right or whoever's right. No, they never do that. So they just let everybody attack us. And what you see is, and if you follow me, you know I will say whiteness, you're not doing enough. Privilege, you're not doing enough. If somebody's coming after me and you're not coming after them, I see it. I got a problem with that. Why do my fees cost so? Why my prices are so high for consulting and everything I do? Because I have to pay. I have to do bullshit tax. It's a bullshit tax on it. Because I have to deal with you, your racism, your discrimination, all this emotional labor just to get a job done that the average person doesn't have to deal with. So yeah, you're gonna pay for it. But I'm not concerned because you're gonna go to somebody cheaper and gonna end up coming back to me anyway, and it's gonna be in worse state because they don't know what they're doing. This is not something you can do on the dime, on the cheap. It's not. We're talking about changing people's behavior. Fundamentally uprooting how you've been taught that you live in this world. So it's, I don't know if you can see it, but this is a person, people make mistakes every day. We're trying to create something, an experience that never existed before. So this right here is the person who wrote White Fragility. Raise your hand if you read White Fragility. Oh, I have a problem. All y'all need to read White Fragility. It's a free PDF online. Everybody needs to read that. But even does anybody know what the missing word here is? White. Yep. And even she wrote it. This is her research. So that's my response. And this is the problem. So what it does, it says, by default, women are white. And everybody else is less than or something else. That's the problem. So we want to say, opportunities made in Detroit. Think about that. This is the only city that filed bankruptcy. But it's still going on. Still moving forward. We're having a conference here. Afrotech is having a conference here tomorrow. And this is an excerpt from the article about Afrotech conference. I mean, the fact that just read this. This is a Silicon Valley event that they're bringing in. I think this is the first time they've come out of Silicon Valley for this event, and they chose Detroit. And I keep forgetting that you guys have the side because I'm like trying to make sure you can read. And this is what's important. It's a growing entrepreneurial space. There's so many. Think about this. When you're at the bottom, where else is there to go but up? This city has a history of being innovative. So I want to talk about a little bit, again, I'm an educator. How many of you have kids? Raise your hand. Okay, I don't like your kids. I don't. And why I don't like your kids is because you told them how special they are. They're special to you. They're not special to anybody else. And that's why you have these problems with everybody in the industry now talking about, how bad millennials are. Ah! You taught them how to be that way. You made testing more important than understanding critical thinking. You made testing more important than travel. Understanding other people's experiences. So when you talk, and we are all in tech, so you know if you're going to measure something at that mass, it's in the best interest of the school system to use testing. It's not best interest of the students. But one thing that I do like about this is, and I say this all the time, coding needs to be these students' second language. It's great to learn French, but let's be honest. When you took a foreign language, all you did was take it because it was an extracurricular. Very few of us actually was like the beauty and like this morning's keynote. Most of us don't dive that deep into the foreign languages we took in school. It was a credit, something to click off the box. And also now with technology, I don't even need to know all that. I can just, hey, let's talk, and we can Google Translate or whoever translate can have that conversation. But coding is the language of the 21st century. And I'm looking here, and there are only 2 black individuals here, besides myself, who, so you walked in late, so that's, we got another one, so that's 3. So we 3, who understand about code. Think about this. So I already showed you the slide of the judge talks about literacy is not important. Think about if you said, well, you know what, that's fine. I'm going to teach you how to code because we're going to get around this. Think about how much more literate these young people could be by learning a programming language. Think about their cognitive development, even though got you this morning. There's so much about her talk that I just love because we make an assumption that our language is the right one, that how we understand something is the right thing. When we already know, but see, that's the whole testing environment. If your answer doesn't fit these 4 things, it's not right. But we know that's not the truth. We talked about that this morning, where there's some countries that have words that we don't even have words for. But we make the assumption that those 4 things, those 4 answers are correct. And I'm going to tell you, how many of you got these doggone, you probably won't answer because of how I just said this, those honors kids or those AP folks. Yeah. What they've learned how to do now is take tests. If you take those answers and put them in a different order, they are lost. They still don't understand because we're not teaching them those skills. So they can take tests really well. They've mastered that. But the whole finding independent or dependent, just finding independent research or doing it on their own to verify something, very few of them have that. Because we give them the answers. Because there's always 4 answers to everything. So if you grow up thinking there's only 4 answers to everything, then once you have 4 answers, you're good. And this is what's wrong with whiteness right now. Your 4 answers don't fit my life. I live outside of your 4 answers. These are the skills that not only young people need, but all of us need in the 21st century. And this is why I do a talk that I don't do non-technical talks, and I hate when CFPs have that as your talk, technical and non-technical. My talks are human-centric. I made a choice not to pursue development once I learned because I saw that I had skills that 98% of you don't have. Coding is a commodity, and if you don't figure that out soon enough, you will be replaced by a robot. Who's going to replace my skills? Hey, who's going to write an algorithm for what I know? These are the skills that we all need to develop. So strategies for exploiting hidden potential, hidden opportunities. Find someone to mentor, but I'm going to put this as a caveat. If you don't like people or like working with people, stay away from learners. Having a bad mentor is worse than having no mentor at all. Learning, in particular for adults, is a challenging and complex, and it so messes with our self-esteem. We don't need some jerk, male or female, interfering in that process. But mentoring is the best thing, because I've seen so many people, even with CS degrees, because again, that's the only thing about testing, so I'm not impressed with that, or coming out of boot camps, there's a big gulf from ending those programs to getting your first job. It's like the Grand Canyon. And without a mentor, the average person, well, unless you're white with a network, most marginalized people would successfully make that jump. How do you do this? Project-based learning. You're working on projects every day. People learn by doing, particularly adults. And then what you need to do is ask if there's an adult learner, let them bring in the stuff they already know. If they have 20 years of experience doing something else, that's something that's valuable. That's why I don't understand why these companies do this. There should not be a lack of developers. There's so many people every day making the decision. You can be what am I trying to say? Because I use this. You could be it's not a jackhammerer. What is that? No, I'm like the jack. What's the job? No, I'm talking specifically the jackhammer person, all right? So you could be the jackhammer person today, and tomorrow decide you want to code. This is where else can you do this? And if you figure it out, you can get a job. So project-based learning. Helping people develop a perspective of failure. Our school system is built on not failing or not making mistakes. If you make a mistake, your grade point average goes down. If you make a mistake, you get all this red writing on your work. As we know in our lives, in our jobs, we make mistakes every day. That's how we build stuff. So we have to help people understand that making mistakes is a part of life. It's a part, you gotta, I want to be intentional about this and strategic. You have to be mindfully break things. We don't want the Facebook scenario. Just break and keep going. We want to break, learn, iterate. Break, learn, iterate. That's just how it's just it's agile. We do it every day. We want to expose people to the humanities. That's where the deep thinking comes from. Philosophy and history and languages. The humanities is where the deep thinking comes from. Not from understanding var equals. How do you determine what var equals? How do you determine if you make var equal that, it won't affect something not only in your own code base, something in your own, in the whole company system, but the people who are going to be using your product or service? Are you thinking that far out? That's what philosophers think. That's how they think. That's how historians think. Anthropologists. They don't think just right here and in silos. They think about the bigger the system. And we need to, white people, you need to leverage your privilege for those who don't have it. And you need to challenge racism, institutional racism. Are you going to lose something? As I said before, yeah, you will. But it's going to be worth it, because if I feel safe, then you feel safe. And that's what I tell people all the time. I have this group called the League of White Men. People think I'm joking. We have a Slack channel and everything. They have to fill out an application. And the job for a League of White Men is, are you willing to make yourself uncomfortable so that I can be comfortable and do this work? If you're not willing, I'm not trying to collect allies or followers. And let me stop right here and tell you what an ally is. You don't get to assign yourself as an ally. The people you're working on behalf of, if they told you they wanted you working on behalf of them, tell you if you're an ally or not. So how's my relationship? How do I want my current relationship with Detroit to be? I want it to be love. I want to have my uncle run over that pothole that's as big as a car and just laugh and like what the hell was that? I want to see the dilapidated, abandoned buildings in Detroit that are every freaking block after Wall Street and the banks destroyed these communities with those predatory loans. But you want to blame black people for that? No, they were trying to be a part of the American dream just like you are. But they got scammed. But I want to see those buildings and see those spaces and say, I see potential there. I see opportunities there. And not for white people, but for the black people who live in this city. And I had to do that. Thank you.